You ever notice that the quietest child in the room is often the one carrying the heaviest burden? The one who always sits politely, never interrupts, never asks for too much, and always follows the rules. On the surface, they seem like every parent's dream, respectful.com/easy. Teachers call them a joy to have in class. But beneath that quiet, something often stirs a silent ashi, a hidden pain that hides behind smiles, nods, and the word yes, because sometimes perfect behavior isn't a sign of peace, it's a sign of survival. This is the story of the obedient child, not just the one you might remember from your past, but the one still living inside so many of us today. Every child is born with raw emotion, laughter, tears, curiosity, resistance. They cry when they're hurt, laugh when they're happy, run when they're free. But some children learn very early on that their feelings are too much, that their laughter is too loud, their tears too inconvenient, their why too annoying. So they start to shrink, to be good, to be easy, to be enough. And in doing so, they trade pieces of their authentic self for the approval of others, a trade that often lasts a lifetime. Psychologists call it conditional love, when love feels available only if you behave the right way. Many obedient children grow up in homes where affection depends on compliance. They become experts at reading the room, predicting what others need, and shaping themselves to fit. And while that looks like maturity, what it often hides is a deep self-suppression. Because for many, obedience isn't about goodness, it's about safety. If I'm quiet enough, helpful enough, perfect enough, the child tells themselves, maybe then I'll be loved. Now, imagine that same child as an adult. They're the one who can't say no, who takes on way too much at work, who listens to everyone's problems but never shares their own, who avoids conflict at all costs. They look kind, dependable, and selfless, but inside, they're exhausted because they've mistaken being good for being worthy. This is what's known as authenticity loss. Human beings are built for expression, to cry, laugh, question, and play. When those impulses are silenced for too long, the self begins to split. The outer self becomes calm and agreeable. The inner self grows quiet, forgotten, until one day, that inner voice barely whispers at all. Have you ever wondered why so many adults struggle with their identity, their purpose, or their self? Maybe it's because they were taught to be who others needed them to be, not who they truly are. That's the hidden inheritance of the obedient child. Studies even show that children who are too obedient often grow up with lower self. Not because they weren't loved, but because they were loved conditionally, rewarded for compliance, not for authenticity. Picture this. A child wants to draw in wild, chaotic colors, but is told to stay inside the lines. A child wants to ask why, but is told to be quiet. A child wants to say, I'm sad, but instead smiles because sadness isn't welcomed. And so they bury their feelings, but buried feelings don't die, they transform into anxiety, into perfectionism, into an emptiness that no amount of success can ever fill. Society praises obedience, parents celebrate it, teachers reward it, but rarely do we stop to ask, what did that child have to give up to be so good? As adults, these once obedient children follow every rule, give everything they have, and still feel unseen. They live lives that look perfect on the outside but feel hollow on the inside, because what started as a survival strategy becomes their identity. They don't even realize they've lost themselves along the way. Yet, within that pain lies something powerful: empathy, awareness, and incredible sensitivity. They can feel deeply read emotions and bring peace where there's chaos. Those are beautiful gifts. But the real question is, can they learn to use those gifts without losing themselves again? Can they balance kindness with boundaries, obedience with authenticity, harmony with truth? That's the journey, the reclamation of their voice, to remember that worth isn't earned through perfection, but simply through being. And this brings us to a deeper question. Why does our society reward obedience so much in the first place? Why do we smile at the quiet child and frown at the loud one? Why do we value compliance over curiosity? Maybe because a compliant child fits neatly into the system, but an authentic one challenges it. And maybe that's why the pain of the obedient child isn't just personal, it's cultural. A reflection of a world that often values order more than individuality and silence more than truth. So what happens when those obedient children grow up? We see it everywhere. In workplaces where people stay silent while burning out, In relationships where one person gives endlessly, hoping it'll finally be enough. In friendships where someone always listens but is rarely heard. They look reliable, but you can feel the quiet exhaustion underneath, because living to please others eventually drains the soul. Psychology calls this the false self, mask built to survive. It looks polished and agreeable, but it hides the authentic self underneath. And yet, the true self never disappears. It waits for safety, for a chance to breathe. Sometimes it bursts out through art, sudden emotion, or even rebellion. And sometimes it just whispers, "Who am I? Really?" Rediscovering that voice starts with awareness, noticing when you say yes while your heart screams no. Then comes permission to rest, to refuse, to feel. And finally, the courage to be real, even when it might disappoint others. Because authenticity can feel like rebellion, but it's actually freedom. This isn't just about individuals. It's about all of us. Our world is built on obedient adults, those who follow quietly, adapt, and suppress. But history, innovation, and art were never created by the obedient. They were created by those who dared to be real. That's why the story of the obedient child matters so much, because it's the story of how we lose ourselves and how we find our way back. Healing begins when you ask yourself, what do I really feel? What do I really want? Who am I beneath this mask? Imagine a world where children and adults no longer have to earn love through perfection, where they are free to cry, laugh, question, and simply be. Because every time one of these obedient adults chooses their own truth over someone else's approval, they give permission for others to do the same. That S, the hidden gift within the hidden panos, who know the cost of obedience, also understand the true value of freedom. And maybe that S, the most powerful lesson of all. True goodness isn't found in obedience, but in authenticity. True love isn't earned, it's given. And the most obedient child can one day become the most authentic adult if they are brave enough to come home to themselves. If this story resonated with you, let us know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with anyone who might need to hear it.